Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana. I'm a business coach and a mentor, and I'm also the CEO of the Inspired Blueprint, a business that loves to help women get out of their own way through our organizational tools, our community, and so much more. I'm so happy you are here joining me on this video. If you clicked on this video, it definitely means that you are probably in full reflection mode, implement mode, really ready to execute the things you want to do for the next year ahead, 2024 being the one that I am specifically talking about. And I'm very excited for this. This video is a part of Vlogmas, which I have been doing for the entire month of December. We are wrapping up, and as we start to get towards the end of December, I am always in a very reflective state, and I always start really diving into my goals. And so I've shared a couple of videos recently about how I am starting to gear up for the new year. One of those being diving into my power sheets. That is the goal planner that I use every year and have been religiously for at least the last 7 years or so. And one of the things that they have in there is, there's actually two things we're going to touch on in this video. They have the word of the year and then your vision board. I love the idea of having a word of the year. And so I wanted to touch on that and really give some tips around how to figure out what your word of the year is, because for a really long time, prior to me really getting into this whole word of the year thing, I've had a word of the year for probably about as long as I've been using the power sheets, maybe a little bit longer, maybe about 8-ish years or so. And before that, I always would hear like people would do that, but I would be like, oh, I don't really know. That seems like a lot to have like one word define my whole year. And so we're going to touch a little bit on that. And then I also want to share some tips for a vision board and everything. So as you are getting into the mindset of that, and I know some people even do it in January, you will have just some tips and suggestions from me to help you with this. So if you've been following for a while, you know when I have this notebook, we're going to get kind of deep. We're going to share some different things. And I have written down some notes of what I want to cover in this video with you all. So the first thing I want to say about the word of the year is to remember that even though it is called quote unquote the word of the year, do not feel like it has to be your whole year. Actually, what introduced me to this idea was the power sheets, because they have a quarterly refresh in there, and every quarter you have an opportunity to refresh your word. But even on top of that, every month they have a attending list in there, and it gives you an opportunity to write a word or even just a phrase that will encourage you for the month. So pretty much what I just took from that in myself, kind of what that meant to me, is I can come up with my word for the year, but I always leave the door open to be like, if at any point I feel like this word is no longer fitting with where I'm going, maybe some things have changed, my perspective is different, then I'm open to changing my word. So kind of take that pressure off of yourself and knowing that the things that you decide right now, the goals you decide right now, like they are not set in stone for the whole year. Like if all of a sudden life shifts and it changes and now things look totally different than what you planned, you know, if you are in June of 2024 and in December of 2023, you had a whole different plan, but life decided to flip upside down, it is okay for us to be open to those changes. So I wanted to just mention that because sometimes that could even be what might hold you back from picking a word of the year. Okay, so let's get into this. So the first thing I wrote down on here is how I want to feel in 2024. And so I wrote on here in my journal, I want 2024 to feel, why can I not talk? I want 2024 to feel like a year that I let myself really go there with my dreams, no holding back, playing safe, and being open to what comes with that. So basically, I have a lot of things that I've been wanting to do, but I also have a lot of things that have held me back from doing them. And I really want 2024 to be the year where I am opening up to the idea of finally giving myself an honest chance in a lot of different areas of my life, business being one of the main ones, but a lot of areas of my life where I have continued to make excuses and have not really shown up in the way that I know that I can, just due to a lot of different things. And so I want to give you a prompt to think about with this is kind of the same thing. Like, how do you want to feel in 2024? Like, what are the vibes you want to create? You know, what is the aesthetic you want to have? And I don't mean it in a sense of like all things pretty, but how do you want to feel? Like, think of an ideal day for you and an ideal situation. You know, what would be like a dream thing that could happen? Start just kind of getting some of those ideas out of your head, because it really does help you figure out what you want the year to mean, which naturally will turn into what your word will be. So to me, there's three different ways you can kind of figure out what your word of the year is, depending on different seasons and situations. There have been certain seasons where each of these have applied to me. And so the first one is you might have a feeling of what you want the word of the year to be. So this could be just out of experiences you've had, and you're just like, okay, I know next year, boom, like this is going to be my word. It may be from prayer, maybe a word you've heard from God. I feel like it's just a feeling, it's an energy that you have of just knowing like this is going to be my word for the year. Typically, you don't need to do a lot of extra to figure it out. You just kind of know. And there have been some years like that for me, specifically last year, of one that I can remember very vividly. My word intention was 100% to me. It was from God. It was a word that I felt was placed on me. I didn't even write it down in my power sheets, y'all. Like I went back and looked and I was like, oh, what did I write down? I didn't even write it down, but that was my word for the year. And in every situation, I would find myself where I'd be at a crossroads of trying to make a decision, or of just different things that I did throughout the year. I would always go back to, okay, what is the intentional approach to this? Am I doing this to be intentional? I really tried to approach everything in that way. And sometimes it just was not even on purpose. It was just like it was a year of intention in a lot of ways. And there were a lot of areas of life that really flourished because of that. So number 2 is prompts. And the prompt specifically that I want you to be able to answer for this, and it could be listed out or written out, is at the end of 2024 or at the end of whatever year it is you're watching this, I want to say that I, boom. Okay. So I put that in my journal. I said, end of 2024, I want to say I, and I'm listing that because this is actually it's going to be 2 and 3 are the ones that I use, and I'll share 3 in a moment. But I wrote things like, this is what I want the end of 2024 to look like for me. I want to say that I grew, I took a chance, I expanded, I prioritized joy and peace, I was brave, I did my best, I worked hard, I stopped the excuses, I made a way, showed up, and I was fearless. So that's what I listed out for what I want to be able to say at the end of 2024. That is truly what I want to be able to say and feel that. And so for you, I'm giving you that prompt. So this is another way to figure out what your word of the year is. If you don't have that natural feeling, that doesn't always happen. That has not happened for me every year. Consider doing that prompt. And what you will find when you do that is some of the things, especially if there's a lot of things that kind of fit together. There's a lot of the ones I just mentioned on here where I'm like, okay, a lot of these could really be put in the same bucket. They're very similar. There's got to be a word that can kind of really articulate all of these things in one. And so I really look for common themes in what I write down. So definitely consider doing that. And then the third way is a word list. So there are tons and tons of word lists online. I'll actually link the one that I specifically use to find my word down below. But basically just a Google search, word of the year lists, and you will see tons of words. Typically they are going to be more inspiring words, positive words and different things like that. But what's nice about it is it gives you a list to pick from. So it doesn't just feel like super overwhelming of, okay, clearly there are infinite amount of words. Okay, I don't know, just endless words that are out there. And so this helps you to narrow it down to words that really could embody what it is that you want your year to look like. And so with that word list, you take it and then really take it a step further and research the word. And so this is really where no matter what type of way you go to figure out your word of the year, the next step is naturally going to be to research it if you just want to dive a little bit deeper into that. And so with researching it, definitely, of course, finding out what is the definition of your word, breaking it down, what is the meaning of it in different ways, like in biblical terms, what is the meaning, what is it in just the standard definition, what are the synonyms of the word, so just different words that are alike and similar to it, what are even the opposites of the word, the things that it is not, sometimes we want to know that as well. And then also, especially if you are faith-based, what is scripture saying about the word? So if you can find just different ways that the word is mentioned or used, or really just focused on within the Bible is really important as well. And then with all of that, if it's really resonating with you, if you are loving the meaning behind it, then that is probably going to be the word for you. And so usually I don't do the super, super deep dive until I have narrowed it down to just a handful of words. particular time around, I wrote down probably a good maybe 12-ish words or so from the word list. And then I looked at the prompt that I wrote of, how I wanted to feel. And I thought about, okay, what are the words that really fit with some of those? And some of the words were very like specific where it was just that word. But then there were some of the words I wrote down that were very much, that really described to a T what I wrote down on this, what I want to be able to say at the end of the year. So I'm going to read some of those words to you. So this is the page that I wrote it down on in my power sheets. And I wrote down these words. Actually, it's probably more than 12. But anyway, okay, so we have the words that really stuck out to me. Some of them I wrote down just off the top of my head, and then some of them I wrote down from the word list. So still, build, go, focus, forward, legacy, faith, believe, persevere, amplify, commit, flourish, journey, rise, thrive, fearless, keep, progress, worthy, heart, grow, and amplify. I don't know if I said that one or not. So that was quite a bit, but I wrote down all of those because those are the ones that, again, they either just came to my mind as I was writing them down, as I was doing this page, or I saw them on the word list and they just stuck out to me automatically. I wanted to write it down. So that's kind of where that comes from. So then from there, that list, I took 2 to 3 words that really resonated with me the most from this list. Specifically, the 3 words that I chose was journey, persevere, and fearless. So those were the 3 that I chose because I felt like they really explained a lot of what it was that I wanted to feel at the end of the year. And so I wanted to dive into each of those. So I looked up definitions, I looked up synonyms for them, and I'm going to be honest, like right away it stuck out to me that persevere really was what I felt resonated with this particular goal that I have at the end of the year to reach this feeling that I want to have. And so the definition of persevere is to continue in a course of action, even in the face of difficulty with little or no prospect of success. And then naturally I thought of faith because I'm like, that's so reliant on faith in a lot of ways. But the difference is that even though I feel like it's tied to faith, and faith is really having no proof of something happening, but still doing it anyway, still believing that it can happen, even though, so still continuing in the course of action, even though you don't have the proof. Like that to me is what persevere means. And so then that's when it made me look up the difference between the two, because I was like, oh, maybe my word's supposed to be faith. But then I looked it up and I'm like, faith is a noun. Persevere is an action. It's a verb. And I want to take action. I want this to be the year of action. And while I have the faith, I have this thing in my back pocket that I want to pull out, I need faith to persevere. And so that is really what made me decide on choosing persevere, because I want to take the action, but I have that firm foundation of the faith, if that makes any sense at all. So the acronym or the synonyms for persevere is stand firm, keep going, pursue, press on, endure, like y'all. Very strong words that fit with a lot of different areas of my life where I want to persevere. I want to grow through them. I want to remove the excuses. I want to expand. I want to take a chance. Like all of the things that I wrote down, persevere just really... Okay, I had a little bit of a mom break really quick. I just needed to help my daughter with something, but I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but basically that is what you want to do. And so as I went through this process, as I approached it in this way, that's how I was able to figure out my word of the year. And then I encourage you to research it. So for me, the biggest thing that I've done with the synonyms, I got all of those together. And then I wanted to look at what the Bible said about it. And I ended up finding the scripture. It's James 1:12, and it says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown. That person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." So I loved that scripture, and to me, I read that and I'm like, even more so confirmation for me. I'm like, okay, this is definitely the word I want, because at the end of the day, that is truly what I am trying to do. I'm trying to persevere. There are a lot of things that happen that get in my way, that try to stop me. But at the end of the day, like I want to receive the crown. I want to have approval from the Lord. And so that is really, really, really good. And then also another note that I found in the research was suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. And I think that is so true because suffering, while suffering, of course, can be very negative and it can be very horrible in certain seasons, I think we all have our levels of what we consider suffering for different things. And I know for me, there has been some of that, I feel like on a small scale, but it has been enough to open my eyes up to the fact that like there are things that I need to work through and there are things that I need to work on. And there's some things I need to let go of. And so in that, I need to persevere. And so I just felt like that really helped me. But in that, there's this level of hope that I have that I can still make these things happen. There's this level of faith. So that was the research. And then another thing that I'm planning on doing is really creating a prayer for what I want the word to really mean in my life. So just how I want to see it show up and what I want it to look like, because I think that that's really important as well, just to identify that. So that's basically what I wrote down as far as the word of the year. So if you already have your word of the year, definitely put it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. And now I'm going to talk about the vision board portion of things to give you some encouragement around how to do your vision board if that is something that you would like to do for 2024. Really quickly, I did want to pop in before we get into the vision board section. If you are looking for something a little bit extra to display your word of the year, check out the word of the year affirmation notebooks in the Inspire Blueprint shop. The link is going to be down below. There's 2 different styles. You can get one with Bun Girl or you can get more of a traditional one. And it's just great. It's an extra thing to have in your back pocket, a little cute mini notebook. You can use it to write all of the details and things of your life, your plans, your to-dos, a brain dump notebook, whatever you want it to be, and then you have this beautiful cover with your word of the year on the front. So check it out. I'll have the link down below and check out all of the details so that you can get your hands on one. All right, let's get back to the video. So the second thing we're going to talk about is the vision board. And I actually have a couple of different goal setting bundles that are going to be linked down below in the description. So check them out because I have a few different resources that I've created over the years and I wanted to kind of bundle them up really nicely, put them together. So if anyone is looking for just a little bit of extra encouragement or some prompts or just some things to do to prepare for the year, you can check that out and grab it if you would like to. But I wanted to just kind of touch on some things to consider with your vision board. So really, when you think about a vision board, and I have really only done a vision board maybe once or twice, if that, in my lifetime. I've always sat down and I've done goal setting and figured out kind of what I wanted for the year. And then I got really, really into it within the last like 7 years or so, like I said, with the power sheets. But the vision board thing, I've only done a handful of times because a lot of times, for me anyway, the stuff I put on a vision board, it's for a decent amount of time. It's not just for the year. And so a lot of the things that I put on my vision board, when I did my first one, it was in 2019. A lot of the things that I put on that vision board, y'all, like I'm still waiting on some of them to happen, you know? And so it's like, I don't want to create a whole new vision board for that. So what I decided to do last year was I actually created one on Canva. So if you are thinking about doing a vision board, first, just kind of identify the fact that like you can approach it from a sense of just looking at the year, or you can look at it as a bigger picture. And so there are 4 different things that I think about when I'm coming up with my vision board of how I want to do it. And then we can touch on how you can actually display the vision board. So the first one is feeling based. So just what feelings do you desire to have in this upcoming year? You know, maybe you want to feel healthy, you want to feel energy, you want to feel joy, peace, love, whatever that is. And how could that be portrayed through pictures and things that you put on your vision board? So just really thinking about that can help you start to think of some ideas. It could be quotes that really speak to that feeling you want to have. The next thing to consider for your vision board is area focused. So if you are trying to figure out what you want to include on there, what are some different areas of your life that you want to work on? And this sometimes will just naturally come from goal setting that you may have done, but maybe you really want to focus on relationships or your business or finances or faith or whatever it is. Looking at it from an area perspective can help you. I know in one of my in the vision board that I did, it was like I had it in area. It was very area focused thing. I had family, home and spaces. There was a section for health and wellness and just different things you could do like self-care. So if you look at it from that way, it makes it really easy to then go and find like pictures on Pinterest or in magazines to help you decide what it is that you're looking for. Another thing to consider is habits. So what are the habits that you have a goal of really getting good with? It could be your water intake, exercising, journaling, whatever it is that you want to show up for yourself on a more consistent basis. One of the things I really like about the power sheets that they have in there is they have a monthly tending list, but within that list, it has monthly action items, weekly action items, and then it has your daily habit tracker. So you can literally track multiple habits for every single day of the week. And that is included in the daily Inspire Blueprint Planner as well from my shop, so that you can continue to track your habits as time goes on. Because I think that's one thing that happens, like we get so excited when the new year starts and we fall off pretty quickly. And so having the tools and things in place to not only be like, okay, I got it on the vision board, but now I have something that I can kind of hold myself accountable with. I also have in the past experimented with some different habit tracking apps on the phone. I'll definitely leave one link down below if that's more your jam. You can even have it pop up as a notification, which is also nice too. But definitely getting a little bit off on a tangent, but thinking about the habits can also help you decide what to put on your vision board. And then the last thing to consider is future. So when you think about 3, 5, 10 years from now, what is it that you really want to see happen for your life? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want life to look like as the years go on? That's a great thing to consider, because sometimes just 1 year is just not enough time to implement things that are considered more like big dreams, just larger goals, things that are legacy heavy type of goals that you cannot achieve in 1 year. And that's why I think for me, I always approach vision boards as a bit deeper than just the year sometimes. And so a lot of times I end up putting some things for the future on there too. And then of course, how to actually display your vision board. So I've already mentioned one. I did it in Canva, but I didn't mention that I actually ended up turning it into a wallpaper for my iPad and for my desktop. And so for a pretty lengthy amount of time of year, I had it as my desktop wallpaper. And then I still have it on my iPad now, but you could even do it on your phone. So this is a great option for you, especially if you want to continue to see something on the tech that you use on a regular basis. And it just allows for you to have that reminder to yourself. But another really good thing that you could do is a traditional vision board. So just on a standard poster board, cut out everything, glue it on there. I will definitely make sure, I'm sure I've included some clips and stuff of my vision board that I created, but that's another really, really nice way to do it. You could also do it just straight up on Pinterest and have it in a board there. I think the one thing that's nice is taking it off of Pinterest is great, just so that you do have it in a more tangible way. To me, even a phone wallpaper is more tangible because it's something that you're going to encounter on a daily basis. Like just creating a vision board, like literally a board on Pinterest, to me is not as tangible because you may not just naturally go click on that board all the time and look at it, right? But you're going to see it on your phone. You're going to see it if it's hanging up, if you have your board hanging up. Another option is a notebook or a journal. You can get just a notebook or a journal from the store and then decorate it. Put all of the things you would put on your regular vision board, but glue them and decorate it all on the notebook. You can kind of cover it with some protective paper if you want. And then that could be your notebook that you use to journal with for the year. And that is another great way to continue to remind yourself. And don't forget to include your word of the year on the vision board too, because I think that's also a great way to kind of rope them all in together. And then the last one is sticky notes. So I've seen where people will put sticky notes like on their mirrors and just in their workspace and different things. And I think that's wonderful as well. So the sticky notes could just be written with scripture that reminds you of how you want your year to be, specific verses from the Bible that you want to remember and meditate on and memorize and really live by in the season coming up. Quotes and things and your word of the year and just reminders to yourself like be gentle, right? Take care of myself. Go to bed early. You can put all of those things all over the place, and that is a vision board as well. I think it can really be different for different people, but finding something that works best for you and giving it a go so that you constantly have that reminder of what it is that you want to accomplish for the year. Because there is nothing like getting to the end of the year and realizing like, oh my gosh, I forgot all about what it is that I even set out to do. And so you don't necessarily have to. And so these are just a lot of different ideas. Like I said, I also do tend to lean into these power sheets a lot throughout the year. There are some months where I'm heavily in them a lot more than others, which I think is just, it's fair to say with different seasons. But finding your tools, your resources, things that are going to really continue to encourage you as the year goes on, and to really line yourself up with what you need for success. One of the things that I wanted to share just as a last thing to close out this video, and I know I bring up Cultivate What Matters a lot, but it's because, y'all, when I literally say that I have been a fan of their brand for years, and so I just love the way that they do things, the way that they think through goal setting, and I think it's just so approachable, and it's just, it's my fave, y'all. Like, I love goal setting and talking about it. So if you can't tell, like, I'm super passionate about it. This video is probably way longer than I planned on it being, but this is something that they came out with last year. They actually ended up coming out with another one. If it's in stock, I will link it. I think it was sold out the last time I saw it, but it's these quick start guides. The reason I'm mentioning this, it's not even so much about getting them, but I really want you to think about the goals in this way. So the way that they break it down, and I'll make sure I have all of my goal videos linked below, especially with using the power sheets, but they give you an opportunity to write in 8 different goals for the year. And that could be very much reflective of the different areas of your life. So like the area focus stuff we talked about. And then they have this little guide here, and it gives you some ideas of different things. And so I wanted to just kind of share how you can approach a goal. So I'm going to give you an example of, let me pull out a guide here for you. Let's see. Let's go with this one. It's the Home and Spaces guide, okay? So this is just a way you can set yourself up for success, and I just love the approach that they have to this. So my actual Home and Spaces goal is house to home. Yeah, house to home with grace is what my goal is for that particular area of my life. And so this is what I could pull out. And I did look at this just to get some ideas, but what I like is they give you 3 different ways to look at what type of goal you're creating. Is it a big dream? Meaning that it's definitely going to take a while, you know, like the bigger dream, the future things. Is it a finish line goal? So maybe you won't be finishing it next week, but maybe in 3 to 6 months, something like that within the year. And then what are the habits, or they call them the action item? And then what are the different habits you want to create, which might be monthly, weekly, or daily? So if you look at your goal in that way, you know, any goal. So I'm specifically, mine's for house and home. Yeah, I'm going to have like my big dream of like, oh, I want to create a life-giving home. I want to create a space that my family loves. I want to open up my home and be able to invite women in. Like, those are big dreams. That's not something that's necessarily going to happen tomorrow. You know, I can do little things to make it happen. But within that, there's specific habits I need to do every month, week, every day. Within that, there's going to be specific finish line goals when it comes to like, okay, I need to declutter certain areas of my house so I know where things are. Figuring out how to break your goal down in that way is just so good, okay? So when you think of a goal, when you think of like, okay, I want to work out to hit this fitness goal that I have, instead of looking at it like, okay, that's it. Okay, I need to work out. I got to eat healthy. Think about it like, okay, what are the habits I need to make happen, and how often do these habits need to take place? What is the bigger dream part of this goal? Like, why do I want to do this? Is it because I want to be able to live long life for my kids, right? That might be the big dream. What are the finish line goals? Okay, by the end of 3 months, I want to say that I can run 3 miles, or, you know, whatever that may be, and I want to accomplish this in 3 months. And then what you have to do, and then what I like is that they give you next steps and resources. So with this particular thing, they give resources. So there's books on here that you can read, which I think is great. So I took it a step further, and outside of just the books, I like to find podcasts as well. And even more so, even creators on YouTube that I resonate with in these specific areas of my life. And I'm doing this for the first time this year because I think it just helps when you have some go-to resources versus sometimes just like leaving it up to me. It's like, okay, it's nice to know like, okay, I have a couple books lined up that I want to read about, for example, finance, personal finance. I have a couple of people that I want to kind of just really stick to their content for the year. I have a couple podcasts I want to dive into when I'm really wanting to focus on finances. And then I have these books that I want to read. So then taking it a step further for yourself and being like, okay, what tools and resources can help me? So even if I'm not in the process of doing the goal right now, I can kind of have my mind thinking about it. So my free time, I could be listening to a podcast about XYZ. And I think that that just helps to continue fostering the idea of these goals that we want to accomplish, and it not just staying an idea, you know, because we're fueling ourselves with the information that we need in order to make it happen. And so whatever your goal may be, I think whether you do a word of the year or not, whether you do a vision board or not, this is just a tip that I wanted to share of how you can approach your goals in a healthier way that will really make it a lot easier for you to grasp and not feel so big when you are like, okay, I got the idea of this goal. Some of this is not going to happen this year, but then there's other parts that I can do right now, these habits I can create right now to really make this a reality for me. And then here are some resources and tools that I'm going to use to get me there. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit just for the end of this. I am so excited for the new year that is ahead. I hope you are as well. I pray that this year ahead is going to be one that is so abundant for you, full of blessings, answered prayers, and any of the things that you have been asking God for. I really just pray that they start to come into fruition for you. I pray that you allow yourself a true chance to get out of your own way and finally decide that you are going to say yes to what it is that you are being called to do, what you are equipped to do, what you know inside is for you, but maybe you've been dimming your light for whatever reason. You've been really shutting out the idea of accomplishing it. But I pray that this will be the year of breakthrough, of an open heart, of understanding, of guidance, of clarity for you. I truly, truly pray that. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.